Jim, crypto news and analysis here. It's been about 4 months since I posted on this video, but we are so back. We're going to be making these videos. We are so back. Just been busy with some things RL, and I decided to make these videos again. This is like my 6th time recording this fucking intro because I keep fucking it up. But yeah, that's what I'll just say. I'll say in this video is alt season so back. And let's just get on straight into this analysis here and talk about the news, what I think about the market direction here, and what the fuck is going on in the entire crypto space or even Bitcoin as a whole, because it's been quite interesting the last 4 months that I haven't posted. I've been still caught up in the markets, just haven't been posting, but it's just insane how the sentiment shift from going from altcoins have gone into not really a crypto cycle as a whole, but more of a Bitcoin cycle. I'm going to go a bit more deeply about that in other videos, but there's some serious things that I learned about Bitcoin recently that made me realize that this market structure is very supportive of a possible Bitcoin super cycle. That's what I will just say here. I'll talk about that in another video because it is a very, very thorough explanation that I would have to go on what the fuck a Bitcoin super cycle even means. What it basically means we're probably never going to see a bear cycle for a Bitcoin again because everybody fucking wants it. But let's just get on with this. So the chart structure here, Bitcoin, it is currently at 118,000. I think the last time I made the videos was around here when it was at 80,000. Bitcoin was pretty much basically playing with a bear market cycle where if it broke this previous line here at around 74K, which it did retest. If it closed below that, then yeah, we're going into a bear market cycle and Bitcoin could easily do something like this where it's just going to, do something like that. And then, that it's kind of likely if that happened, right? But the fundamental thesis of Bitcoin is that you use it to hedge against the dollar weakening over time because the dollar has been down for 95%. But let's just say that Bitcoin chart wise, it is looking quite good here. And right now it is at this pretty much up only ever since it retested this support here. And now it is consolidating at 120K. And I don't think this rally is over at all. I think, there are some models I was looking at in terms of the global M2, where in correlation to Bitcoin, it would follow either a grindy path higher. So, Bitcoin, it's going to go up in the next couple months. People are calling 150K, 120K, 180K, 200K. I don't fucking know, man. Either way, it's going to go up, but into the long term, it's going to go much higher. But in terms of what it's doing right now, in terms of global liquidity, it is just insane, right? And I will say in this video is alt season back? Because a lot of people in the crypto space, it seems that nobody fucking owns Bitcoin, but a lot of people have meme coins. And that's kind of like the sentiment, right? Because if you go IRL and you talk to people and you say, why don't you buy Bitcoin or something? They're going to be like, oh, this thing is too high. It's too expensive, which makes no fucking sense, right? Because if it's not the thing about the price, but it's more about the market capitalization. Where Bitcoin here, it's at 2.36 trillion market cap. And in comparison, Nvidia is like 4.24 trillion. So it's literally 2x the price, but market cap is basically the real valuation of how much expensive it is and how much money it has to go relative to the entire global liquidity. And right now that's 100 trillion or some shit. And Nvidia is 4 trillion of that. But Bitcoin here, it's only 2 trillion and people just look at the price. And the thing is that with stocks, they can split up the stocks, the shares per price. I'm not really sure how exactly it works, but they did that with Nvidia, which is why instead of it being it should be a 6-digit price if they didn't do that. But it is, I don't know, $200? I don't know. But they're playing into that unit bias. It's called unit bias, by the way, the psychology effect. But a lot of people, they just don't really have Bitcoin, and they're going to chase the altcoins because they're thinking, oh, well, they're cheaper, so that means they have more room to go. But that's been how it's in 2021, where in 2021, this was the COVID cycle where it was around here and Bitcoin just broke out from his previous all-time high at 20K. And then it did a super fucking craziness cycle like this. And then the altcoin markets pretty much reciprocated in kind, and you're seeing 100x's left and right. But people are now expecting an alt season again here because it was like 2021. They're thinking, oh, well, 2021, you can just buy anything and then everything goes up. Well, maybe consider the fact that the altcoins, they are way more diluted now in comparison to back then, because in 2021, what the fuck did you have back here? You had Axie Infinity, you had Ethereum, you had, I think, Solana a little bit even. I don't know if Solana was around. Yeah, Solana too. But there were a lot less tokens back then. So there's just less tokens to buy into. So that means, there's this nice analogy I remember seeing on Twitter, but basically that there's water dripping over a bunch of cups. But right now there's like a shit ton of fucking cups. And there's only so much water that can go into each cup to fill them, right? So a lot of people are expecting this altcoin super cycle to mirror something in 2021. We'll have to see. But right now, if we look at the others chart, so others, this is an index of the altcoin market, pretty much everything except Bitcoin. But basically the others chart here, it's currently at this consolidative grindy chop mode, and it's at a pretty interesting point because right now it's at what is this called, an inverse head and shoulders. And when it comes to that, usually you see a move higher. But what I'm a little concerned about is that, on the daily or the weekly here, there is such a large volume spike here, and price only increased by like 272 to like 300, so 10% increase, but that's the biggest volume spike in a while. And the fact it only went up that much, honestly, I look at this indicator and it's a little bit saddening to see. But a lot of people, when they look at the altcoins, this is the index to do it. And I think for the general direction, it will keep going higher, because if you just look at this, and it's been like 14 green candles in a row, and then recently in the last 2 days, there is this large sell-off that pretty much signals, okay, is this a dip to buy, or is this consolidation until the next move? But for now, because a lot of people, when they buy altcoins, they buy them because they want higher returns than holding Bitcoin. Well, we'll see how that's going to happen. Right now, if we look at Bitcoin dominance right now is currently essentially falling off a cliff since 65% to 60%. And Bitcoin dominance, a lot of people on Twitter, they just keep calling the Bitcoin top, like, oh, well, this has to be the top, or oh, this has to be the top, or oh, this has. They just keep calling the top here, and it could be that possibly right now, maybe the Bitcoin top or Bitcoin dominance top is here. Bitcoin is not topped. Like, it's not as if when Bitcoin dominance goes down, that Bitcoin goes down as well. Because if you just look at it, Bitcoin's chart, even if you look at the EMAs, it's just fucking up only. And it's probably not going to be that Bitcoin dominance itself is going to make Bitcoin go down, but this is just an indicator for how much alts perform compared to Bitcoin. So if Ethereum goes up 20%, Bitcoin only goes up like 5%, then yeah, this is going to go down even more. But even right now, it's tickling with this EMA, where this EMA is basically an indicator that signals if you should buy or sell an asset. Right now it's green, and right now it's tickling with this lighter green EMA, which usually signals, okay, maybe it's time to buy or wherever the hell. We don't really know. But the thing is that Bitcoin dominance has been going up only for almost, 3 years. And now it's at a prime season to finally drop off. But we'll have to see what happens. Currently, what I'll say short term is that Bitcoin dominance, when it comes to these super large super trends downwards for Bitcoin dominance, then it usually leads to a bit of a chop. And we see right now there's a bit of a recovery, but I drew out this like a couple days ago, where what I would think would happen to Bitcoin dominance, where there's a little bit of consolidation for a couple days before it just goes down even lower. Because if you even look at the RSI, 11 RSIs, it's that shows that there's some weakness in the trend here. So it's possible that alt season is around the corner. I would say with decent probability it will happen. And when it comes to alt season, like a lot of people, as I said earlier in this video, they think that they can just buy any alt and then it'll just go up and they'll make 100x on their money. That's not how it works anymore. You have to buy the top assets, because there's just not that many coins to hold mindshare wise, because there's just so many fucking coins from the pump fund shit and the bunk launch pad. But if I were to say, like, Ethereum, like the super popular alts are going to be your best bet, but we'll have to see. Like, even if you look at Ethereum as well, Ethereum is currently, if we look at 2021, that was the alt bull run cycle where it went from like $400 into 5,000. So literally like a 12x. It was the biggest fucking rally ever. But right now, even Ethereum compared to Bitcoin, it's just not really the best performer, right? And Ethereum right now, as you guys can see, it tried to touched this 4.2K. So it was trying to break previous all-time high cycles, while Bitcoin pretty much just blasted through all-time high back and forth. But here, Ethereum, it's currently having to tickle this 4.1K level. And currently, I don't know. We'll have to see, because a lot of people with Ethereum, they believe that this is going to be the next asset. It's going to be bigger than Ethereum. Everybody's going to be using it on the computers and whatnot. But we'll have to see. In reality, Ethereum is like, there are some good apps that are built on it, but the promises aren't really exactly the same as the actual reality here. But we'll have to see. Ethereum has to just claim above 4.1K, like consolidate up here. So this would be the most bullish thing for Ethereum, where it does this and then consolidates like this, and then we could see higher. But for now, Ethereum is at this really compulsive move. And even if you look at this chart structure, when it did this super large bearish downtrend from 4K to 1.4K, there wasn't much consolidation for it to form a base. Like, preferably if you wanted Ethereum to do some crazy fucking numbers of high probability, you would want to see it do this and then go sideways for a bit, form a base, and then we can go higher. But right now, it's having this almost V-shaped recovery from the bottoms. And we know that when it comes to crypto, when something pumps up that fastly, it also goes down quickly. And, on just a long time frame, we'll have to see. It's not like Ethereum is the worst chart in the world. There's far worse altcoin charts out there. But Ethereum, if we want the bull case to be true, then it has to claim above 4.1K for it to go higher. But what I'll say in the short frame, because that's kind of a lot of people's preference here. So I was doing a little bit of a charting on this, a little bit of looking at it. But Ethereum has been pretty much up only for the last 2 weeks. And currently it's at its consolidative phase, where only recently has the trend shifted consolidative. And right now there's two paths for this where I think Ethereum can go, where currently it had a pretty nice move up from this little bit of a consolidative block, and now it is impulsing higher. So what I think is going to happen, something like this, form a bit of consolidative range, and then maybe a move higher, something like that. Or this could just be the move, and then it tops out at 4.1K, because we know that when it comes to this little order block here, and then it's going to move higher without that much energy to build it up, then it's kind of like a quick finish, right? And we could see a distributive top and see this Elliott wave cycle and in phase 5 here. A lot of people are calling for the alt season, but I don't know. It's kind of a risky thing here, where probabilistically alt season, is it going to play the same as 2021? Because there's another thing of markets where the more people expect an outcome, the more the market is least likely going to give that outcome. And when everyone is expecting 2021 alt season to be the same as 2025's alt season, it's not really the best thing, right? It's also the similar psychology where everyone's telling you buy, buy, buy. But like, even if Bitcoin, even though it's all-time highs, you don't fucking hear it on the news or even IRL. You would get pretty concerned if your 60-year-old grandpa is asking you how to buy Bitcoin. But like, still, even now, IRL, this is completely on my own bias, but nobody fucking wants to buy Bitcoin. Like, I even went into like a little bit of a Bitcoin meeting IRL just for fun, and I was like the only person who showed up. And like, me and the guy, we just talked about macroeconomics and politics and shit, and it was kind of crazy because it's all-time highs, but like nobody fucking talks about it. That's that thing with the market psychology where people are saying, oh, well, you buy the fear and then you sell the greed, right? There's like almost no greed. I mean, that's just from my own perspective. I'll tell you guys for the crypto cycle. But yeah, currently, I don't know if it makes sense, but right now I'm more allocated to Bitcoin than altcoins currently, because I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble here, like a bit of a coin flip on if this alt season is actually going to be as ginormous as what happened in 2021. Because currently it is doing this inverse head and shoulders, right? But even this volume spike, it only went up that much in price. And we have Bitcoin dominance having this bit of a consolidated move. And in Ethereum, pretty much having one of the worst chart structures compared to Bitcoin. I mean, not like one of the worst chart structures ever, but this is not the thing you want to see if you want to see an insanely strong rally to 10K, right? A chart like this isn't what you firstly say. But a lot of altcoins here aren't really, maybe Solana's a little bit, but like even Solana had the whole fucking thing with the pump fund, and Donald Trump launched his meme coin on the chain, and it couldn't even close above all-time high on the weekly. Like that is even bigger than what happened here with the whole altcoin fiasco and everything was overbought. But even with Donald Trump endorsing this fucking blockchain, it didn't even close above all-time highs. Like, are you serious? So it's just kind of skeptical on altcoins right now, where altcoins, can you really expect them to do 100x's and everyone on Twitter is saying, oh, this is going to be the next big thing? Well, I don't know. We have to see it close above here first. But for now, I'm biased for altcoins overall. We'll have to see. I don't think that they're going to go to zero immediately, but that is their usual end game path, right? Because if we also look at the others chart, right now, it still has room to go ever since it closed above this line here at 300 billion. But, you know, it can claim this range here because currently there is a order block around here, right? There's that local resistance, but where does it go after that, right? So when you're going to click on this and maybe it does like a V-shaped recovery like this, or it moves higher somehow, but here is the resistance for the altcoins. And I do think that this will eventually get up here to test this resistance, but where is it going to go after that? Is it going to actually consolidate here? And then we're going to see a much higher move when nobody fucking seems to want the altcoins and there's just all this meme coin gambling. And even still, if you look at this chart and then it forms this W, I mean, it's not the worst, but the thing is that everyone's expecting altcoins to go as high as Bitcoin. Like it's going to go as high as Bitcoin forever and follow its trend, but I don't know, like people are expecting this, right? But what I'm more biased for in altcoins overall, so this index, like I don't think that it will go to zero immediately, but it will go above here first, and then we'll have to see what happens. And honestly, this is pretty probable. This is pretty damn probable for the altcoins, assuming like even Bitcoin, maybe the thesis is wrong and then it's going to consolidate. I'm not really sure, but like what I'm just trying to say here is that altcoins aren't really a thing that you invest in anymore. They're more of a thing that you pretty much trade because they have such large impulsive moves higher, like as you see with Ethereum. Imagine you took this trade. So this is a trade setup that I did earlier. I didn't take this trade, but I mapped it out. But if I took this trade, that's pretty decent, right? But altcoins are pretty great to trade because they are just so fast moving when they move. But altcoins overall, they just move like nothing for the longest time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say here with the altcoin rant. But let's just look at this. This is a bit of news that I just want to address. So this is just beyond Bitcoin, but Justin, Bank of America says many banks are preparing to introduce crypto stablecoins. So this whole thing here with the Bank of America, I was going down this fiat rabbit hole with Bitcoin earlier where the banks, they're trying to implement stablecoins. So there was the Genius Act earlier by Donald Trump, where essentially, I'm not like a super expert on this, but he was trying to enforce a stablecoin since everything is now getting tokenized. And the US dollar, the US government, they have all of the reasonings to uphold the US dollar and make it the global reserve asset in the world because it gives the US a lot of power and it gives the US a lot of advantages in trade. However, when a lot of things are coming in and Bitcoin is going higher because the Fed just keeps printing money to address their debt crisis, well, people are losing faith in the US dollar because a lot of the US dollar, it's getting more and more devalued while all the living expenses are going high as fuck. And then we have this whole spiel with Donald Trump wanting to have manufacturing built in America and then also the US dollar to be strong at the same time. Like the thing is that when you try to do these things, I believe there is this paradox. Like I was talking with my quant about this, but he was basically saying that there's a bit of a paradox where if you try to put manufacturing first and the dollar first in a country, it's pretty difficult to do this because usually those strengths are inversely correlated. I'll be showing this in the screen later. But the thing is that Donald Trump is trying to do that with his Built in America Act. And then also he's trying to uphold the strength of the dollar with these crypto stablecoins and whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to see. But what I will say is that I was going down a bit deeper on the rabbit hole with fiat for Bitcoin, and what I did realize is that this crypto stablecoins, where the banks they want not just a unofficial stablecoin. So USDC and Tether, they aren't officially backed by the government. These are tied to assets in the treasury. I think they buy bonds to do it, but it's not like these are made by the government. But the government, they're trying to make their own stable coins because the government themselves, they don't really like decentralization and people being hidden from the government with their financial transactions, because the governments, they just want to see all your transactions, right? And they also want to be able to hold your money, because if they control your money, then they control you. But the governments, they want that power, right? They don't really want to surrender it. So they're trying to make these stable coins. So this is a bit of a step towards central bank digital currency, where the banks, they will eventually have a digital currency that everybody is supposed to use instead of the US dollar. Since now with the digital world and now everybody's plugged into a computer, there's not really that much reason to have cash. This whole spiel here where they're trying to introduce the crypto stablecoins, we'll have to see. A lot of people with Bitcoin, how is this going to affect the Bitcoin as well? It's interesting because that means short term, they want to pump the dollar in terms of its strength. But if you also look at the DXY, it's just still bearish here, and it's probably going to trend bearish. I mean, if you look at this is a head and shoulders pattern kind of, right? And usually when it comes to that, it just goes lower. But the thing is that with policies like this, where the banks in the US, they're trying to focus on the stable coins, we'll have to see if they really just want the stable coins or if they want Bitcoin, because there's also another thing recently with the governments where they want to enact the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. But the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is, they just keep kicking it down the road. I think they were supposed to have like an announcement on July 22nd, but they never even said anything about it. But the thing is that the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, if the US government actually stacks that like crazy, then that will pump Bitcoin's price a lot, right? Because that is a lot of demand that this came from the global superpower of the world, and that means other countries are going to want to buy the asset to not get left behind, right? Because so many currencies in the world are correlated to the US dollar, and if the US government, if they're not just having a gold reserve but a Bitcoin reserve, and Bitcoin, it is truly limited compared to gold because you can always find more gold with new mines, well, a lot of people are going to get FOMOs like other countries, and that's just going to spiral Bitcoin's price even higher. But I will just say that Bitcoin, it will, this is the asset of the century, man. But yeah, I kind of just want to rant about alt season here. This video was pretty gimmicky, I'm not gonna lie. I just wanted to record something, get something in here, because I just have so many thoughts right now, and it's kind of hard to organize them into a cohesive video. But I want to make these videos daily as well. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm saying in this video. And I think going forward, my summary of the market analysis is that altcoins, when you're going to play these altcoins, you don't expect 2021 moves like this again, because like, why would people buy altcoins if they will buy Bitcoin? You know, that's one reason. But also with the others chart, a lot of the altcoin structures, market structure wise, the market just tells you that they're not really the best assets to be holding investments. They're good for trades, but I don't know. I'm still trying to think of this thesis here for why the altcoins aren't really the best thing to buy. But I think short term, there will be an alt season in the next couple weeks. But for now, it's more of a choppy move for now. We're going to expect some choppiness in the next few days before anything crazy. But yeah, that's what I'm saying in this video. There's kind of a lot of yapping. I'm not gonna lie. All right, I'll see you guys.